friends. It is now time for the Soulful Psalm segment of Deacon of Truth. The Soulful Psalms, we take one of the Psalms from the book of sung praises from the wisdom literature of the Old Testament that we hear in every holy sacrifice of the Mass. And of course, when we pray the divine office or the liturgy of the hours, and we take that Psalm and we connect it to your everyday lived experience. Well, today we're going to take a look at finish looking at Psalm 3, right? It's for almost 2 years we've been doing this show. And we're finally getting around to one of the Psalms in the very beginning of the book of Psalms, Psalm 3. And of course, all the Psalms in the first book, Psalms 1 through 41, are written by David. And the prescript or superscript of the Psalm is the entire first verse. It says, a Psalm of David as he is fleeing from his son Absalom. So you remember that after the persecution with Saul, David, and then Saul dies, David becomes the king of Israel. He unites the kingdoms, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. All the 12 tribes were united again under David. And toward the end of David's reign, his son Absalom decides to try to take power. And so he kills all of the sons of David, of course, except for Solomon, and hashes a plot to take over the kingship from his father. His father finds out about it. His father flees. He loves his son Absalom, doesn't want to see anything happen to him. And so he, instead of fighting his son, he runs, right? He flees from his son Absalom. And so he wrote this psalm during that time. And just imagine, even before we dive into the last couple of verses of this psalm, we're going to dive in at right around verse 7. Imagine having to flee from your child or flee from someone that you love. Right now, you may be estranged from someone that you love, whether it be a parent, whether it be a child. Maybe that child is making a lifestyle choice decision that you don't agree with. They're angry with you because you won't support their certain decisions that they're making about how they're living their life or how they're practicing their faith. And so what do? You take it on the chin because that's your child, right? You don't acquiesce and give in, and say, well, forget what the church teaches. I'm just going to, do what my child. No. Jesus talks about this. Remember, he says, just a couple of weeks ago, we heard the gospel. You think I came to bring peace? I came to bring the sword. Mother against daughter, father against son, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, that whole thing. Why? Because Jesus Christ, who is truth himself, the truth divides even families. And so as painful as it may be, we have to stand for the truth. And so David is going through all of this angst and anxiety over his son Absalom. And so he writes this psalm, which is not a very long psalm, but let's dive in here now. And so he started off this psalm, how many are my foes, O Lord? How many are rising up against me? How many are saying about me, there is no help for him in God, right? So it's almost... well, this is probably not exegetically correct, like with the language of the text, but as a father, I'm thinking, looking, kind of look more of the fatherly approach to what David is writing here. People are probably saying, man, that guy can't even get control of his own house. His own son is turned against him. What kind of father was he that his own son is turning against him and trying to kill him and trying to take power from his father? And so the people are talking about it behind his back probably. And David probably realizes he's probably embarrassed over that situation. Here is the greatest king in the history of Israel, the great warrior king, and his son is trying to kill him. That's where it gets real right there. Right. But we're going to pick up here at verse 7. So David, again, calling on the confidence of the Lord, I will not fear even thousands of people who are ranged on every side against me. So again, even though my son, it doesn't matter who, whether it's my son, whether it's the Philistines, whether it's the Amalekites, I'm not going to fear whatever comes my way because you are fighting with me. He remembers what happened with Goliath. He called on the name of the Lord. He remembers that God fights with him and for him, that he is not alone in the fray. He is not alone in the battle. And so he concludes, arise, Lord, save me, my God. You who strike all my foes on the cheek. I just love that. Arise, Lord. Save me. Just crying out to the Lord with confidence and trust. Be with me, Lord. I know you're with me. I know I'm not in this alone. Who strike all my foes on the cheek. Why? God is the one who's going to seek retribution. God is a God of justice. Don't worry about revenge, right? So we talk about, for example, the death penalty, retributive justice as opposed to revenge. Very different mindsets, very different understandings there, right? God is the one who's going to exact justice. You, Lord, are the one who strike all my foes on the cheek. You who break the teeth of the wicked, right? So he's talking about striking the cheek, striking the teeth. Again, striking against the foes that are maligning him, that are verbally abusing him, that are mocking him and ridiculing him, that are even making, not necessarily his son, but the other pagan tribes who, when they attack David, are mocking the God of David as well. So strike those, let them stop saying what they're saying. You exact justice, Lord. Salvation belongs to the Lord, right? So David says, out of this situation, I'm not going to save myself. If I go into battle and I fight, I'm not doing it on my own accord. I'm not saying I'm going to win this battle. No, the Lord is going to win this battle because I am fighting with and for the Lord. So we have to remember that too, that when we're fighting against something, whether we're getting attacked by the culture, whether that's happening at work, we're getting pressure at our employer to, use certain symbols or use certain language that doesn't comport with the truth of who we are and our dignity as a human person, which, basically they're asking us to lie about what it means to be human, about what gender is and all that kind of stuff. We have to remember that we have to stand up because our salvation comes from the Lord. Again, some people will acquiesce, some people will give in, but at some point we have to stand up. What if you're a Muslim? Would they push you if you're a Muslim or you were Buddhist? It's the Christians who are the one to persecute. Why? Because we worship the real God, the true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God who came and was incarnate in the womb of Virgin Mary and died on the cross for us. That's the God that we serve, and that's the God who brings salvation, right? So David emphasizes that salvation belongs to the Lord. May your blessing be on your people. So he starts off, how many of my foes, O Lord, how many are fighting against me? So he starts off in this kind of stressful situation. Lord, right, my own son is persecuting me. Lord, he doesn't use his son's name, right? He's speaking in general terms here, but the prescript tells us that he wrote this psalm as he is fleeing from his son Absalom. So even when things are difficult, even we have to learn how to trust the Lord. Let us call upon the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth.
For more on the Psalms with Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, check out Beacon of Truth weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio and streaming everywhere you listen to podcasts.